I want to introduce to you Deb Quinn and Sandy Weckerly, who are with us today to give our message on the work of our missionaries in East Africa. And I think you will find it to be a very informative and I hope enlightening presentation as well. We will be taking our noisy offering a little bit later in the service, and whatever we collect will go to support the missionary work of Dowdy and Kellen Sima in Tanzania.
All right. Good morning. Good morning. Bwana asifiwe. That is Swahili for Lord be praised. I want to thank you and thank Pastor Denise for inviting me here today to speak to you about my trip to Tanzania. I went with Bishop Clements and some of his staff to Tanzania in January of 2020, and actually Bishop Stacy was on that trip as well, so I really got to know her during that time. Just a little bit about me. My name is Debbie Quinn. I'm married. My husband and I do not have any children, but we are the favorite aunt and uncle of 18 nieces and nephews, 14 great nieces and nephews, as well as countless friends' children who call us Aunt Debbie and Uncle Pat. The one picture here is of our one nephew, Jojo, who is very close to us. I'm a retired school counselor from West Aurora High School, where I was there for 30 years. A member of First Lutheran Church. Sandy and I co-lead the Sunday school program this year, members of the social ministry team, and I started a program called Caring Connections, where we visit our homebound parishioners. I'm also the NIS WELCA Northeastern Rep and Discipleship Chair, which I'm going to talk a little more about later. And I'm on the Synod's Global Mission Trip, or Mission Committee, and we are planning a trip in January of 2024 to India to visit the Arcot Lutheran Church there. For today, this Bible verse kind of spoke to me. Hebrews 13:2, show hospitality to strangers, for by doing that, some have entertained angels without knowing it. Hospitality is something that's very important to the people of Tanzania. And you are going to hear through my stories today many angels that I came across in my journey. So look for the angels in these stories. I like to talk a bit about the accompaniment model of mission work. And this is kind of a new style that the ELCA is adopting for mission work. And I think historically we thought of missions as, I've got something that I'm going to share with you. It's one person bringing something to another person. But actually in the accompaniment model, it's much more of we're in this together. I have a story, you have a story, and we're all part of God's story. So it's more about walking alongside one another. Not I have something to give to you, but I'm going to be there with your joys and your sorrows, and we're going to get through this together. And there's 5 core values that are part of accompaniment model. The first one is mutuality, and that's basically that everyone has something to offer that they can bring to the table, and it's about building trust and giving trust. Inclusivity, it's about making sure everyone is brought to the table, not leaving anyone out, especially reaching out to those that are on the margins. Vulnerability. It's not about being in charge. It's kind of letting go of that power and kind of letting others, taking risk and letting others be in charge. Empowerment. It's a balance of power. We need to use everyone's strength when we work together. And then sustainability. So it's building those lasting relationships, and especially in the fields of missions, it's about making sure that the work we do there is sustainable after we leave. So even though this is the ELCA's model for mission work, I feel we're all called as missionaries in our everyday life. And so I feel this is a model that we can adopt in our churches, our communities, and in our lives. So just a little bit about Tanzania. It's on the east side of Africa, right along the equator. So it's really got very beautiful weather. It initially was colonized under English and German rule, but it became its own country in 1961. It has such natural wonders as Mount Kilimanjaro, the Serengeti, Zanzibar, and the Ngorongoro crater. It's very much a Christian, becoming more of a Christian community, and largely Lutheran. There's actually more Lutherans in Tanzania than there are in the United States, just because it was colonized by German and Lutherans. A lot of Lutherans were missionaries there. So Lutheran, Catholic, and then a strong Muslim community. And they really get along with their Muslim brothers and sisters and really honor them as well. And so many times they will not eat pork or have pork bacon. They'll have beef bacon just to kind of honor their Muslim brothers and sisters. Currently, there is a Muslim woman that is their president. A couple years ago, their president passed away, so she was vice president, so became as current president. And Tanzania is built up of multitudes of tribes. And so one of the things they're really working on and developing still is how to preserve their tribal culture, but also develop their own national culture as well. So there is one national language, which is Swahili, but many of them also then speak their own tribal language. And when they start to get into secondary school, they learn English. It is a very patriarchal society. It's still a society of not unusual to have multiple wives. There's not many girls marry young. Not many are allowed to go to school, although a lot of that is changing. And one of the things I noticed, Bishop Masangwa, who was the bishop of the Northern Illinois ELCA in Tanzania, and he is very much a proponent of empowering women. So he has a lot of women on his staff. And the Lutheran Church over there is very much involved with their hospitals and their schools and supporting that. In the area where I was at in January was more the northern part, which is considered kind of Maasai land. So the people there that we met were very hospitable. They're a very musical community. As you'll see later, I have a video of one of their choirs. They love to roll out the red carpet for guests. They'll put out their finest foods, even foods that they normally wouldn't eat. They love a sense of pageantry and giving speeches, and their choirs come out, They give gifts of jewelry, which I'm wearing some of that today, and I have other examples back there. So their philosophy of hospitality is they will help their neighbor no matter what, no matter how long it takes. And we experienced that on our trip in Tanzania. One of them was, as you're driving along a road, if you see someone walking, you stop and ask them if they want to ride. Even if there's no room in your car, you find a way to fit them in. Another example, this is on our journey to Ketabani, which is a couple hours outside of Arusha, and you can see that the rain washed out the bridge over the river. So everyone in the town came out and moved out boulders upstream so we could drive upstream and get across the river. Now, I think as you will find in my stories and in your own lives, sometimes there's people that come across in your life that you see later that they were instrumental in getting you on the path that you're on. And for me, some of those people are in this picture here. On the left is Randy Stubbs, who was our choir director at First Lutheran. Him and his family went over to Tanzania as missionaries, and so he kept talking to us about coming over and visiting. And on the right is Pastor Seth Salulu, who's actually from Ketabani. He was over here getting his master's in music at Northern, and so I got to know him as well. Just bringing a little bit of home that we saw over there, because corn is a big commodity, I would see this flying ear of corn. I thought that was pretty cool. I think, too, it just shows the work that we do here and its impact it has on helping feeding people around the world. A little bit about the education over in Tanzania. Like I said, it's not many girls continue through high school. There are public schools, but if families can afford it, many times they will send their children to boarding schools. You're kind of required to go to school up to primary school, which is up through 7th grade. But when we were out in Ketabani, I saw quite a few children out during the day. Then of that, only 81% finish elementary school, and only about 30% go on to secondary school. And of that, only 25% are girls. And that is because mostly by that age, they are married. Now, the Maasai Secondary Girls School was created by David Simonson, who was a missionary over there. And they have a program where they rescue girls. So as girls take their test at the end of elementary school, if they do score well, they are asked if they'd like to go on to school, and then they will take them from elementary school to the Maasai Girls School, which was a very alarming practice that would not work here in the United States, but it is kind of what they need to do to kind of get girls educated. And the Maasai Girls School makes a commitment to these girls, not just until they get through secondary school, but till they can live independently. So they help them through college, and then until they can get a job and live on their own. There's another one of the angels I met was Ron Gustafson, who is a businessman from Rockford, who has made several trips to Tanzania and supports some of the students there. It is just about $1,000 to support a girl for a year of education in Tanzania, and that includes room and board and education. I'd like to mention about the plaster house. This was another kind of angel I met there was Sarah. A lot of the families still cook over an open flame, and they live in bomas, which are grass huts. So a lot of children fall into those fires and there's burns. or some are born with cleft palates or other medical conditions. And so what this nurse, Sarah, found is that they would come to the hospital, they would get treated, and then they'd go back to their communities, and there'd be no aftercare. So then they would come back later and have infections. So she started this plaster house where children would come before their treatment and stay until they're fully healed. It kind of reminded me like our Ronald McDonald houses here. And the parents could either stay there and help with the care of the other children. If not, there was staff available to help. They wouldn't let us take pictures of the children there, though, but they were truly just so inspiring. As we did our tour, they'd walk up and want to be held or hold your hand. More of a connection from our local area. I saw this on one of the hospital beds. It was donated from Kishwaukee College, or Kishwaukee Hospital here in DeKalb. So another strong missionaries over there who really embodied the accompaniment model was Mark and Linda Jacobson. They were longtime missionaries over there. Dr. Jacobson was instrumental in helping to start several hospitals over there. He has recently passed away, but they truly modeled the accompaniment model of walking together with their community, the men and women over in Tanzania. And now those hospitals are continuing even without him because of that sustainability, building those leaders within the community. Mark's wife, Linda, started something called Widow's Mite. In Tanzania, especially in the Maasai land, if a woman's husband dies, his property does not go to the wife. It goes to his brother. And the brother can decide to either allow the woman into his family or not at all. So Linda there started a program called Widow's Mite where these women could make like jewelry and baskets and clothing and sell them so that they could be financially independent. Katabeni, so in 1988, the ELCA kind of started the companion church philosophy. NIS, the Northern Illinois Synod, was matched up with the Tanzania and also the Arcot Lutheran Church in India. So First Lutheran Church has had a companion church in Katabeni since the early 1990s. Their church services are typically 2 hours long. There's a lot of music, a lot of singing. Many times afterwards, if they do not, if someone can't afford an offering, they will have love auctions after the service to help raise money. Many times a church is started just by under an acacia tree, and then as the church body grows, they build these little wood structures where the wood you see there is a type of tree that termites won't eat, and then they put stones in between and cover it with plaster. So I love the music there. This is one of their choirs and singing a lot of the choirs sang this song. It was one of my favorites. So just one of the ways that I think what we found as being a companion church that you can get involved is by, you can sponsor a nursing student or a girl's education. If you give to NIS WELCA, you can designate that that money gets sent to the women of Tanzania or the women of India. One of the things they're looking to do, this is a boma, and as you see, there's like a stovepipe coming out of the top. For a small amount of money, you can build like, it's like a little tiny furnace with a stovepipe to help eliminate kids getting burned in fires. You can purchase goats for widows. There's a lot with clean water that you can buy filter systems. And also gifts for evangelists. So like out in Ketabani, it's like 100 square miles. So they had, the one pastor has like 40 evangelists that kind of help him administer to that, which is unpaid. So some of the things you can do are to give gifts to them. So NIS WELCA, like Pastor Denise had said, I have some flyers out there. April 29th, we're having a Women's Day kind of retreat. So if you're interested in that, I've started through WELCA a discipleship project where we connect women in Northern Illinois with women in Tanzania, kind of as a modern day pen pal, and I'm hoping to broaden that to the women of India. I must tell you about my angel story of two angels, the baboon and myself. We drove on the Land Rover that you see there, and in Gorogoro, where we saw all sorts of animals. And at the end, in the gift shop, there were tons of baboons all around. Our leader said we need to pay our driver, kind of give him a tip. So I went back to the Land Rover in order to get my money. I opened the door, walked in, went to get my backpack. I heard all this commotion. I turn around, and there, in the chair, the seat in front of where I was standing, was a huge baboon holding a juice box. So close that I could see his fur and the oil on the fur. And then one of the drivers was there yelling at him, and the other driver was at the other door kind of yelling at him, and I was froze, and the baboon was bouncing back and forth between the two. Then he turned to go back towards the back of the bus. And I was like, I had a split second, do I jump out of the way and get myself out, or do I stand there? And I thought, if he gets past me, he's never going to get out of this bus. So I began pushing him back with my foot, just like saying, nope, you're not coming back here, you're not going this direction. And eventually he turned around and ran away. So those two bus drivers were my angels who kind of rescued me from the baboon that day. So Asante Sana, which is thank you for this opportunity. And I'll be, if you have any questions or anything, I'll stay a bit after service. So thank you.